Good morning. Saturday. We're here. Uh, Enjoy the weather, right? We've had a couple of pretty good days. Today, maybe also good. It seems a little different for the end of July, right? But I'm not going to complain. I don't know what I'm going to do this weekend, right? The porch project is done. Or I'm sorry, not the porch project, the fence project. I guess I do have a porch project, which I'm not quite ready to get started on, but I guess that'll be next. But maybe this weekend I'll just do something else. I don't know. Yeah, there's always something, right? But hopefully you can get outside and enjoy some of this weather. Um, um, Certainly, that's what summer is for: is to get outside and do something. Um, Enjoy the chance to be outside, which we don't always get, in the winter so much. Um, it's easy to forget that, right? I mean, um, we you get so accustomed to it being a certain way, and then you forget that you know we really ought to appreciate this time because certainly it's not always available to us. Um, so let's see, what should we talk about today? Um, So maybe let's briefly touch on the Yamas. We've been talking a lot, I think, about the Yamas and the Niyamas. Good morning, Deborah, and how we can use these to kind of improve efficiency in life, um, our ability to get things done, and get things done in a yogic way, right? So it's easy. I mean, I shouldn't say it's easy, but it one way to go through life is to just do stuff, right? To just be a steamroller, right? And just do everything, just crush anything that gets in your way. Uh, don't worry about other people's feelings, other people's issues. Um, just keep your head down and just, do whatever, you know, your uh, you think is for you, right? Is your job, your thing to do. As you can imagine, this probably isn't the best way to go through life. Um, just like a steamroller or anything that is kind of relentless, right? Um, a lot of things get crushed along the way, right? You don't have the ability to see what's happening. You're kind of way up here, and you're not even paying attention, right? You're just going. Um, this is not the most efficient way. I shouldn't say that. It could be the most efficient way to get through life, but I don't think it's certainly not the most effective way. Um, there's going to be a lot of fallout from that, a lot of friendly fire and collateral damage, as they say. Right? You're going to destroy a lot of things that you did not mean to in your pursuit of this goal that you see. Um, and uh, Another problem with this behavior is when we are mindlessly pursuing a goal, we are fixated so much on the end that we aren't paying attention to the process, right? And right? We've talked about this before. What do we care about in yoga? We don't care about the end. We don't. We care about how we get there, right? The means. What are the means, right? How did we come to this? Not so much this, right? Because this changes all the time. This whatever this is, this thing we're seeking, this pursuit that seems so important to us today, tomorrow might be completely different, or the next day, right? Um, the goalposts change, the field changes, we change, everything changes. What doesn't change is how we do things. Right? So don't be a steamroller, right? Don't do it. You're gonna hate that. It's not gonna work out for you. It's not gonna work out for the people around you, right? Instead, we want to be um, very precise, right? And the yamas give you the tools for that precision. Um, they are um, they are the ultimate means, right? Um, the yamas don't have a goal, right? They don't tell you what to do. Um, they tell you how to do anything you want to do, how to do an excellent job in the pursuit of whatever it is you are pursuing. Right? And the niyamas as well, right? But the niyamas are focused towards our own treatment. And the niyamas we don't talk about as much because, they're pretty straightforward, right? We got, saucha, which is this purity and cleanliness. These are the niyamas that I'm talking about. Right? Yeah, you want to be clean. You want to take care of your physical body, your physical surroundings. And it just makes sense, right? Um, how are you going to really thrive in an environment that is unhealthy or, you know, way too dirty or cluttered, right? But let's be clear, the yamas are, yoga philosophy doesn't want you to be, you know, crippled by this need for everything to be perfect and tidy, right? Right? We're not going there, but yeah, we want to have things functional level, cleanliness, order. Same thing with our body, just taking good care of things, right? Santosha, right? It's a level of self acceptance and comfortable with our own body and our own achievement, our own, like, where we are in life, right? You may not want to be here forever. Maybe you have things you want to change and things you want to do, but you're okay where you are now. You accept it. You aren't angry all the time. You aren't disappointed. You aren't constantly berating yourself. Oh, why are you like this? Oh, we could have had this. We could have done that, right? I know everyone here knows somebody who's like that, right? Who is constantly disappointed, right? They are disappointed in everything. Their default state is disappointment, right? They'll tell you all these things they could have done, all these opportunities they missed in life. They have them memorized, right? Uh, don't do that, right? That is not the course and the path to santosha. That is not a good way to live your life. So we don't want to do that, right? We want to accept we are here. We are where we are. We got here by the choices we made. Maybe they weren't the best choices, some of them. Maybe we aren't in a place that we want to be at forever, but we're here and we are accepting of that and we're content, not dissatisfied all the time, right? Um, Tapas, right? We've talked about this. This is an important part, and this ties in with asana, right? A lot. So asana is a means to work this idea of tapas. So tapas is um, the direction of a self will, right? We might think of it in Western sense, maybe willpower, right? We say you have willpower. You are exerting your tapas. You are uh, exercising your tapas when you are doing things, right, that you know are the right thing to do, that they're good for you, that they're good for everyone, but they're hard, right? Sometimes making those choices are easy, right? They also smoothly align with what you want. They make sense. Sometimes they're very hard, um, and you struggle with that. But that struggle is good. That is building your tapas. That is refining your body, literally. So we talk about yoga, we talk about the body, the physical body, there's a spiritual body, there's an energy body. All of these bodies are wrapped up together. Tapas moves through all of them. So it's good. Um, Svadhyaya. Svadhyaya. It's a funny one, funny name. So Svadhyaya is spiritual study and observation. We also call this sort of self-knowledge, but when we say self-knowledge, we mean the big S, self. So Svadhyaya is that awareness of the big self. That's a spark that we share, that we are all connected. And it's not so much, brain knowledge as it is an internal knowledge of the body. It is becoming comfortable with that idea, accepting that on a very, very deep level. And the way we do that is really meditation, right? Meditation is our vehicle for understanding that, right? We can read about it, we can hear about it, but we experience it on a deep level when we do things like meditation. And then the final sort of niyama here is Ishvara Pranadana, another long and funny word for. So my definition, I'm looking here in my little book, is celebration of spiritual enlightenment, which that seems pretty big, but it also is. I also have written down here surrender. Right? So when you have moved through all of these niyamas and you're in that Ishvara Pranadana, you have surrendered, right? You have communicated deeply with the self, big S, and you're there, right? You have accepted that this is how it is, and you've surrendered to the power of the self. You've turned over your selfish desires in favor of the will of God or the universe or the whole, the self, however you want to term it. Um, I hesitate to always say God because that has a connotation for people that can be negative. Some people really have some issues with organized religion. They maybe have had bad experiences in the past with it. So I don't want to limit it to that. But it is that. It is that that big that big thing. So when you have absorbed all these things, gone all this way, you can't help but surrender to this. It's the final step. So big one. But those are the niyamas, right? And I was just going to touch on them, but we talked a lot about them. So then let's just do the niyamas today. We'll do the yamas another day. So there, you hear we talk about the niyamas. We almost never talk about the niyamas. We give them a little kind of short shrift compared to the yamas because honestly, the way we interact with other people is probably, a bigger source of problems, right? um, and struggles in our life than the way we treat ourselves. Not all the time, and not everybody, right? There are some people who can do no wrong to other people. They care so deeply and take so much care with other people, but when you look at how they treat themselves, it's pretty shoddy. They need, some support to get through the yamas, and or the niyamas. It makes so much sense if you think about it, right? All of these steps are important, but when you get to the final step, it becomes a circle, right? When you have surrendered to the whole, when you have surrendered to this, this ultimate truth, you can't help but do all of these things, right? That's probably why it's the last one because it's the hardest, but also the easiest, right? If you really seriously are in that state of Isvara Pranadhana, you're doing all of these things. You're doing the Yamas, you're doing the Niyamas naturally, right? Because you're following what is the ultimate direction. And that direction guides you to make those decisions. Um, so it's like you put the car in on cruise control at that point, right? And cruise control is going to keep you at an even speed, maybe even self-driving. Let's go a little further. Self-driving, because it's going to keep you in the right path too. So as hard as it may seem to get here, once you get there, you know, you're making good decisions. You know, you're in alignment with this power. You're going to make the right decisions. Now, right? We're just going to say briefly, because I do want to get some asana in today. The problem, right, is that there are a lot of people out there, a lot of leaders, and even, people on yoga paths and traditional, some historic yoga leaders who don't understand the difference between the self, the word of the self, and the word of the self, right? And we talk about it a lot. You'll see these things online, you see all this like yoga stuff, and it's like, it's all about self-care, taking care of the self, understanding the self. Well, they don't understand what they're saying is not the self, but the self. The big self is very different from the little self. The little self is grasping. The little self is scared and needy and takes, right? So when you see someone taking advantage of their position, um, their ability to influence others, they are exerting the little s, right? They are accumulating wealth, accumulating prestige, accumulating anything, right? To feed that little s, that self. Um, that's not the same thing, right? We can see that. So don't fall into that trap of thinking that what is good for you is good for everyone else. That's not how it works, right? You are not. Um, you are, but when you're thinking like that, like, oh, it'll benefit everybody because it benefits me, you know, um, I need this, right? I need to take care of myself and blah, blah, blah. You do, but it doesn't work that way, right? Turn it around. What's good for everybody is good for me. If I'm thinking about what's good for everybody, I'm included in that, right? If you're holding an umbrella to cover everyone, you are also covered, right? But if you have an umbrella and you're going to hoard it so you're the only person covered, how is that good, right? It's just a different way of looking at things. Your needs will be met. You don't have to worry if you are thinking about the larger picture, um, because you're part of the self. So think about it. Sometimes I think Ishvara Pranadhana should be the first niyama, but I understand that it's hard to get there. Sometimes, right? If everybody, if you just jumped right into that deep end, I'm not sure. I think a lot of people, it's a big ask, and it's a big ask if you don't start to understand the truth of it, and you only understand the truth of it as you go through the steps. Right? If you've never meditated, if you've never thought about any of these things, it's a hard ask. But once you've started to do some of these things, you understand the truth of it. It unfolds for you, and it makes sense. Okay, let's move around a little. bring soles of the feet together. Sitting up tall for a deep breath. Lean forward. Your arms over your head. Deep breath and fold. Coming back up. Let's point and flex the feet. And then rotate through the ankles. One way and the other. Bring that right leg in. We're kind of squeezing, sitting up tall. And then lower the knee. Bring that foot in. Take a deep breath. And then reaching down. Switch it around. And deep breath. Reach down towards that foot. Back up. Deep breath. And fold. And back up. Let's bring the hands just back behind the body a little bit. Fingertips pointing away from the body. We're squeezing the shoulder blades together. Gazing up. And then back to your seat, left hand on right knee. Sit tall for a breath in and a twist. And moving the opposite way. Breathe. And back to center. Bend the knees. Let's catch a hold of the toes or the feet. Lean back. Find your steadiness here. And then maybe extension. And then set the feet down. Soles of the feet to the mat or lower down or rock back. Getting comfortable here. Hugging right leg in, left leg long. Lower that right knee out to the side, keeping the rest of the body flat on the mat. Bring that knee to center and then draw it across the body. Rolling up on the left hip and trying to keep that upper body resting on the mat. That the right shoulder, the opposite shoulder is going to want to come up some. Don't worry about it if it does. You can, help that by looking opposite. So with this, we're gazing to the right. But it's still going to come up a little. Don't worry. Don't let that trouble you. And switch sides. Lowering out to the side. And then bringing the knee across the body. back to center. Extend both legs, and let's extend the arms. Or you could do, uh, goalpost arms. Pardon me if you're close to some obstacles or walls or something. Just take a few breaths. And then bending knees, we've got right ankle on left knee. Moving into your version of supine pigeon, whatever that is. Hopefully you know what that is. You've done this before. Let's switch. And breathe. Set both feet down and let's just bump the knees together. Let the feet walk to the edges of the mat. Maybe bring the arms up over the head. That feels good. And then let's bring soles of the feet together. And kind of the same, just resting here for a few breaths. And then bring the knees back to center. We're going to do a regular bridge and then supported bridge. So if you've got a block handy, keep it ready at the ready. We're going to have hands by your side, pressing down with the arms and the legs. Then lifting the body, breathe. Lower back down. Take a breath. And then find a block or find a place for the block. And just rest here. Breathe for a little bit. You could bring the knees in or extend the legs out or straight up. If that is a favorite of yours. So at any given time, any asana can be done in a variety of different levels, right? You could be right here. This is good. Maybe you are feeling a little more ambitious. So maybe you extend the legs, right? Maybe you're feeling super ambitious and you want to lower the legs, right? You start to feel that in here, don't you? Or maybe you just want to keep your feet on the ground. I'm not going to tell you what to do here. You get to choose. Some days we want to do more. Some days we want to do less. Some days we might need to do more, right? Maybe we feel like we really need to stretch and move a little extra. Some days maybe not so much. So your practice expands and contracts to accommodate whatever it is you need in your body today. But trust your judgment here. Trust your connection to your body. Stop thinking of yourself as lazy or whatever, right? You got on your mat today. You're here. You're not lazy. What you may be is hurting your body by trying too hard, by doing too much. You have to evaluate that for yourself. And I mean, results speak for themselves. If you have been able to maintain your practice for a good amount of time without a lot of injury or struggle or different things, then you're probably doing a pretty good job of evaluating what you need. If, on the other hand, you're constantly damaging yourself, if you've always, you kind of dread going to the mat because you're going to do something crazy and or something, it's going to be too much of a struggle for you, you might want to look at how you are communicating with what your body needs. Are you listening or are you telling? Are you a collaborative? Is it a collaborative, project between your mind and your body and your spirit? Or is your mind telling your body and your spirit what it should be doing? There's a big difference. And you know which one is the one that's going to get you the results you want, right? It's not letting your mind run wild. I can tell you that for sure. And then resting back down, soles of the feet together again, breathe. See if you can relax so that the belly is rising and falling. And then moving into Shavasana, you can rest where you want, or maybe just extend the legs. Feeling comfortable. And at rest here. Keep breathing. Focus on that physical body sensations that you're experiencing. So, the niyamas, even though we don't speak about them as much, are important because, right, we've talked about this past week. As within, so without. It's hard to treat people well when you are suffering within. When you are not treating yourself well, how do you have time for other people? How do you have time for, um, that's the last thing on your mind if you're suffering, if you're having a lot of issues with your own self. So pay attention to the niyamas. Listen to your body and your spirit. Um, I'm not going to say don't listen to your mind, but remember that your mind can get out of control, right? It sometimes it drowns out everything else. So take it with a grain of salt. uh, turn down the volume on that mind, so that there is room for other voices to reach you. Okay, so as you're wanting to move now a little, getting back to awareness and everyday stuff, bringing hands together, we are breathing in and breathing out. Thank you for taking some time, coming to your mat, giving yourself a little yoga today. I hope you have a very excellent Saturday and the rest of the weekend. Namaste. Okay, great. Meditation, let's do it. 5 minutes. So, here is a chance. If you don't normally take a chance to try to do some of that communing with the self, the big self. Listen. Let everything be quiet within you. Turn down the volume on the mind and listen. What else can you hear? Breathing, relaxing. Okay, coming back. We are back to awareness. So I realized we didn't really, pardon me, I'm talking about turning down the volume on your mind, but I didn't really specifically say how we do that. So just briefly, there's really two ways to do this. I mean, there's lots of different ways, but they basically fall into two different categories, right? The first one is where we separate ourselves from our thoughts, right? We separate from our thoughts. And kind of a way to do this is when we visualize maybe a screen, like a movie screen, or sometimes I do a blank canvas, right? If you have ever done painting or something, a blank canvas in your mind. And you imagine the images and the words and the thoughts that come through your mind as passing through that on that screen or the canvas, right? You notice them and you move on. You notice them and you move on. So in real world sort of description, like if you want to describe this as sort of a scenario, I think of it as when you have a toddler and that toddler is very anxious to show you something. You see it, right? Oh, you notice it. Oh, that's amazing. And then you set it aside because already the toddler has something else and they want to show you that, right? And you see it and you move on and you move on, right? You are in this way separating yourself from that thought. That thought is not you. That thought does not consume you. It doesn't take over all of your mind and keep running through your head and you're unable to escape it. It's something separate. And you can choose to stare at it and hold it in your hand, or you can set it aside because you know another one's coming, right? You are not your thought. You are separate. Okay, that's one technique. The second one is where we try to occupy the mind, right? So this is where things like mantra and visualization of an image or a word or something simple comes into play. So in this scenario, maybe it's like if you took that toddler to the doctor and you know the toddler is talking to you and they have something really important to tell you, they want your attention, but you're trying to communicate with the doctor over here. The doctor is sitting patiently. And what are you going to do, right? So you give the toddler a snack, you give the toddler a toy, you give the toddler a distraction that keeps them active and content while you are communicating on a different level with someone else, right? You're still attentive to this. You know this toddler needs your care and concern, but you're listening over here. So this is what mantra and visualization of images and all of this does. It allows the mind to be content, to be working on something, but in a simple way that is not distracting you from this higher conversation that you are trying to have with the self, the big S self, right? So two ways to do it. There are other ways for sure, and other techniques that you can refine or put your own spin on. But those are basically, two places to start. And I will tell you, because everything changes, right? As you move through your practice, you may find that one technique is more or less effective as you go along. You can change techniques. You can add techniques. It's all good. You can go back to an earlier technique, try it again. There's not one that's better than the other. They're all equally good and effective, depending on how things are working for you right then. So, okay, that's it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will be back.